Okay, so I've been dating a lot. After Cancun, I met someone. I kind of committed to someone. I said, you know what, you're my gal. I like this. This feels good. And we talk about you. We talk about Esther. We would sort of get into expansion. You know, are you in the vortex? You know, how many days? We'd count 8 days, 2 days, 1 day. We'd go 1 day. And then all of a sudden
14 seconds.
14 seconds. Not even. And then there was this contraction. And what was there, like, it was really strange to have that there as a tangible feeling reality. And then
use more words around that. To have what there?
The connection, the eagerness to talk to each other, the eagerness to see each other, even though it wasn't, you know, all the time. And this, for me, it was luscious. I had no words. I just enjoyed being with her, looking into her eyes, and there's nothing to say. And I'd ask her, "Are you happy?" She'd go, "Yeah, I'm happy." I didn't have to do anything. "Are you happy?" "Yeah, I'm happy." "You happy?" "I'm happy. I'm happy." And it was like just great. We didn't have to do anything.
But we are not accustomed to holding ourselves in a state of happiness without some justification.
Okay, say it again. So I didn't feel like she had to do anything. There's no conditions. I appreciated her. I loved being where I was, whether it was the other end of a telephone or face to face. And then everything started to change. And so it's almost like...
It's almost as if we're so accustomed to justifying our happiness with conditions that we can't just sustain happiness without something that causes us to focus ourselves into happiness.
So that was my condition. Are you saying that?
What we're saying is, so the reason that you all came into this physical experience is because you understood from your non-physical perspective the benefit of focus, the fun of focus, the expansion of focus. Mm-hmm. So we want to say to you that in your appreciation of each other, would you say, because it sounds like that as you explain it to all of us, that the focus that you were giving each other was not expansive enough to feed your continual becoming? It's a little bit like Jerry and Esther would be in San Diego, and they would go to La Jolla, where the rocks were flat and the sun had warmed them. And they would lie on the rocks, and they could hear the ocean, and there was the mist from the ocean coming up over them. It was like the perfect physical sensation of the warmth of the rocks, the cool of the air, the cool of the breeze, and then the warmth of the sun. It was like a sort of perfect environment, a perfect condition in order to be happy. And so they would put themselves there, and they would be there for second after second after second. And after about 10 minutes, Esther could hear Jerry's fingers thumping on the rocks because he'd had about all of that he could stand. In other words, there just wasn't enough in that, delicious as it was, there wasn't enough to satisfy the motion forward that he desired. And so Esther would pretend like she didn't notice that. And so she would ignore it. And then she would feel him sit up. She wouldn't look. She would refuse to look. She didn't want to engage in conversation because she knew as soon as they got talking that she'd be sitting up and they'd be packing up and they'd be on their way to something else because there just wasn't enough there. And so that's sort of what we're getting at here, is that appreciation is such a wonderful thing, but when you are engaging with one another, here's what it is. The potential for leading edge beingness is so peaked at all times that you just can't hold yourself back from it. We think it's something like that. So what happened? We were all feeling a big butt coming on. So...
Okay, so what the thought forms in my head are like this. So I want you to relate it back to me, because it's all about me anyways. I mean, I would call, it would be like 10 texts a day, I would like be... And then as soon as that... And sometimes I'm busy and sometimes I'm not, and when I have free time, I engage, put myself out there, I'm in great communication, I'm very available, and then sometimes I'm not. And so what was happening is, it's almost like I have to, and I don't want to, but it's almost like, well, okay, so then eventually it came, oh, what's now noon and you haven't texted me? And so now it became a whole new focus about, well, I used to text, when I had the time, I could text 3-4 times in the morning. And then when I got busy, I couldn't. And now the conversation started like, what's going on? The whole flow just went, the whole river turned around and started going the other way. And I was saying, well, it will come back. Now I got lots of stuff to do. I can't do this like I used to do. And everything became a comparison. So that didn't feel good. So now when living into the world of comparison, you used to spend this much time with me, you used to talk. It was almost like there was this accountant on the other end doing attention, a balance sheet. And I'm going, I can't sustain, like I can't do that. It's like, it's the tide goes in, the tide goes out. I'm busy, I'm not busy. But when I'm with you, that's for sure. And that got missed. That whole thing was kind of thrown away for the keeping good accounting of this.
Would you say that as you are describing this clearly conditional response from the other, would you say that she is the only one that is responding in a conditional way?
It seems like it. It seems
well,
like it.
What you would more accurately say is, well, she was the one who started it.
Yeah.
She was the one who started it, but now you are responding to the condition. In other words, because the same thing that you are feeling uncomfortable about her doing, you are now keeping score on the other side too.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, that's terrible.
So the question that we have for you is, do you believe that you have the ability to respond to her from your knowing of who you are, apart from the conditions that she is now expressing? Because in your words, and you are absolutely accurate, it will come back. It will come back. So the question that we have is, do you have the ability to sustain, that's what faith is, do you have the ability to sustain the belief apart from a condition that is supporting it? Do you need a constant manifestation to be revealed to you in order to create the atmosphere? This is the question. Because if you do, then you're going to be twirled up in conditions forevermore. I do this and then you do that, and then I do this and then you do that, and I do this and then you do that, and then we resent each other because we are asking each other to do the sustaining that we can only do for ourselves. So an unconditional way out of this, which is the only way out of the terribleness that you are defining here, is for you to find a way of unconditionally feeling the way you felt before. You see, you are all more vibrational than you are anything else. And while you are, oh, you're going to like this, while you are manifesting constantly around you, it's your response to your manifestations that is stripping you up. Now, hear this. We want you to have all of the manifestations that you want. Do not misunderstand. We like it when you have the tactile, tangible experience of life. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But we don't want your happiness in this moment to be dependent upon it, you see. So now, it was easy for you to see how she changed. But it's not as easy for you to see that you changed in response to her change. And because You changed in response to her change. Now, nobody's in control of their own vibration. Everybody's living conditional love again. If you do this many times in this many ways, and you do this, then on my balance sheet, that's a good way of putting it, then I'll be able to sustain myself. Unconditional sustenance is about getting it from source, not getting it from some external. Oh, we did it. We called your relationships external. You're wanting to make them the reason that you live. You're wanting to make them the wind beneath your wings. You're wanting to make them the reason that you are alive. But they are not. They are usually the reason you disconnect from who you are. So what you want to say is, hey, I'm crazy about you, but you got to sustain yourself while I'm doing other things, because I cannot give you my undivided attention, as you can see. And if my undivided attention is necessary for you, you're going to wither on the vine, because I cannot give you my undivided attention. I have so many things that I'm alive about. It's my aliveness that you were drawn to. It's my completeness that you liked. It was my togetherness that you adored. It was my sensitivity that you liked. It was my groundedness that you liked. It was my connection to source that you liked. You liked all of those things. Keep liking those things. And we say the same to you. You still have the ability to remember what you liked. As you were describing this, as you talked about the deliciousness, you used the word luscious. As you were describing that, you were right there with it, but then you got lazy about your focus. You began looking at what someone else was projecting, and you took that as your reason for vibration, and then you blamed her just like she was blaming you. You can't get to where you want to be for any length of time like that. You have to be free. That's why our first conversation was so good. There's a rebelliousness within you that wants to say to everyone, don't make me so important to you that your happiness depends upon me, because you're going to be disappointed.
Yes, yes.
I am not the source of your happiness. Source is. Source is the source of your happiness. Now, I might inspire you to it. I might be so tuned in, tapped in, turned on that when I hold you as my object of attention, you might get a pure glimpse of what it's like to be held in the eyes of source. But don't ask me to give you my undivided attention. I will become bored. And it is not because you are not enough. It's because no one is enough. That's not natural, you see. That's why so many relationships are so out of balance. I want you to love me forever, no matter how terrible I am. I need you to stay.
She was practicing that. It's actually that manifested, like, no matter how, like, ugly, I want you to love me. It's like, but that just pushes me the other way.
That wasn't luscious, was it?
No, it was like, yuck.
Yeah. And so then you were doing the same thing to her. You got to be luscious. You got to be luscious all the time. You got to be tuned in, tapped in, turned on in order for me to like you. So law of attraction has matched us up well. Because we are still lovers. We are conditional lovers. We're conditional lovers. Don't want to be. Don't want to be. I want to create the atmosphere that allows me to receive clear, pure awareness of who you are. I want the source version of you. I want the source version of you, which means I can't be with you for a while. That was one of the things that was working so well. The less time you spend together, the easier it is to love each other. Unless you're really in sync with who you are. And then the more time you are together, the easier it is for you to love each other. But what you want to do is practice your capacity for love before you choose your subject. because most everybody chooses a subject in order to discover their capacity. I didn't know I could love like this until I met you. Well, then you're going to be in trouble, because I change every day.
Okay.
Enough?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.